cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a cargo of dreams, through the nebula's mist we'll forge our own schemes. In the vastness of space where no man has been, we'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Heave home maze upon the starry sea, we're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, we'll voyage across the celestial sea. Voyage across the celestial sea. Through crimson skies our ship prevails. Across the stars a celestial flight, metal warriors bound by might. Ooh, yeah. In this realm of shadows darkness unfurls, a symphony of chaos, where planets whirl and nebula of fury untamed, sailing through the void where nothing's the same. We ride through the cosmos, a metal storm, defying gravity. Our spirits transform through supernovas and celestial clouds. Our stellar voyage forever in the skies. Digging deep in the Martian soil, searching for that precious ore. With pickaxes and heavy hearts, we're the miners of the cosmic shore. On this barren land, we march.
Alrighty, greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the stream. Let's turn the music down a little. There we go. Why am I sitting on the wrong side? Yeah. That's better, I think. Weird angles. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Suffering from insomnia, some people. For me, it is another day of hay fever hell. So fun and games. Always fun and games. Yeah. We just, what am I doing? Transform. Right. Now I'm sitting skew, but you can at least see me. Thank you, Dark Mirror. The parmesan is always appreciated. Only really with pasta, but sure. I mean, we can always do that. How are we all doing? I hope we're all doing well. Gotta make sure that my ears are working. Otherwise, I can't hear myself talking, which just makes things weird. Morning, Will, Anthony, Mo, Will W. had a cat named Mo. Funny cat. Wasn't he? It was a rescue cat. My wife went out with some friends to a braai or something, and I didn't go. I had work to do or something. So she was out quite late, so I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day. I'm sitting at my computer, and there's this cat sitting on my thing, staring directly at me. And my wife wakes up, and she says, "Oh, by the way, I adopted a cat last night." I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I'm not hallucinating. Here I thought there was a demon sitting on mine, just staring at my soul." She's like, "Yeah, no, the place that was at, the animal didn't get along, the cat didn't get along with the family. It was a family of 2 adults and 3 children. These children were unruly." I said, "Okay." And she says, "Yeah, no, it's a very finicky cat. It's, very mean, doesn't get along with anybody and attacks people." And here's this cat staring at me. And my wife can't see the cat because there's a computer screen in between us. And it's purring at me. I'm like, "Really? It's an evil, hateful cat?" And she says, "Yes." I'm like, "Then why is it on my table booping my chin? Like, bish, bish, bish." It was a long-haired cat called Mo. Or, as I called it, not my cat. This cat that didn't get along with anybody would not leave me alone. Ever. If I left the room, it would follow me. I didn't do anything. Just woke up and this thing was on my desk. And I'm just like, "Good kitty, where did you come from?" But it was an old cat, so at least its later years were lived in as good of an environment as we could provide. It was spoiled as much as we could. Very much. I mean, I also promptly climbed onto my lap and fell asleep. I was like, "Okay, cat that is not mine, why are we doing this?" Yeah. That was this thing. We were going to look after this cat for a couple of weeks, and then we found it a better home. And I think we had it for 5 years. It was a very elderly cat to start off with, so there is that. But yeah, 5 years. And they had adopted it, so it wasn't their cat for 10 years. I think it was about 10 when we got the cat. They had rescued the cat. And it was antisocial and would hide away from people and all of that. Apparently it just didn't like the kids, which I can agree with. I didn't like those kids either. So yes, and that's my Mo story. Just making sure all the settings are setting. I'd love to know how I always get a smudge on my glasses just before a stream. Good morning, Anthony. Hope you're doing well. But yes, it was very much it chose me and then just wouldn't leave me alone for 5 years. That's better. With my skew beard. So when I had the voice surgery, they had to tape this up to my face while they operated. Looked quite ridiculous. Alright, we're running at a decent stuff. Okay. Okay. No, we're not. Because, let me guess, it is the backup process. Just started as I started streaming. So that's fantastic. Thankfully, I caught it before it caught too many problems. Although YouTube is moaning at me. So I've been a good streamer. Yes, I've been a good streamer. I haven't said the naughty words in 3 streams. I've been a good boy. So the percentage of monetized streams is going up, which is good. In some ways. I mean, I don't think I was using the naughty words that much, but apparently just once is more than enough for the algorithm to get upset with me. And we wouldn't want the algorithm to be upset with me, because heaven forbid. I had a funny moment earlier today. My dad sent me a video. It was a biography about Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc is one of the most prolific voice actors ever. He's formed the voice acting community as we know it today. And if you've ever watched a cartoon from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, you probably have heard his voice in one way or another. But his big claim to fame was he basically did every single voice in Looney Tunes. Yeah, the guidelines are all over. It's also different between videos and streaming. Streaming seems to be much more rigid now. Good morning, Kandaria. So yeah, Mel Blanc was prolific in his voice work. And since I started, I've always said, there's 2 voice actors that, you know, if I could ever be like them, I would. One is Mel Blanc, and the other one is Robin Williams, who was also a very good voice actor. But the fact that my dad is sending me this stuff is quite funny, because, I mean, when I was in school, voice acting wasn't a profession. You do a trade or you do a thing. So this job would never have crossed my mind. But he's behind it 100% now. It's like, rah! So, yeah, I find it funny that, you know, after 20 years after I've left trade school, that he's so behind the voice acting stuff. Well, this stuff. Voice acting, whatever. I shouldn't be banned, per se. I should at most get limited ads run on my streams, because we're not political here. It's not my wheelhouse. I tell stories. I tell stories so that people can escape the day-to-day life. So I try not to be political any which way. So that shouldn't be a problem. It's just the naughty words thing. It's just, I'm South African and British. So naughty words are part of the vocab. Yes, The Man of 1,000 Voices was actually a very interesting documentary. biography rather than documentary. Documentary. That's very true. They don't like stuff that's not normal, which is, I don't know whether it's understandable or not. So, advertiser friendly is what they call it. Thank you for this. I mean, I think it's just stuff in the air. So this is a new house. It's first fall, autumn, whichever one you want to call it, that we've been here. So I think some of the plants in the area, I'm just not, my body just doesn't like, because my wife's sinuses have also been pretty poked. So we think it's either a flu, which I don't feel like it's a flu. All I've got is just nose problems. I don't have a temperature or anything like that, or achy. Well, no more than usual. And she's also had problems with the sinuses over the last couple of days. My Quantum Monster energy drink. Yes, it's Quantum. It's the Monster energy drink of the future. Monster should sponsor me. I'd drink Monster every day. Well, I do drink Monster every day. Well, most days. Yeah, lots of medication. So, before bed last night, I took 2 antihistamines and a, not a decongestion, but something like a decongestion. And then I took it again this morning. So, concentration's a bit iffy, but that's a normal thing. Yes, this is a quantum monster. So you can both see it and not see it at the same time. And that's my theory. But it's not as good as my special straw. My super special straw. My invisibility straw. And the kitty is with us today. In his little nest. By my foot. He's licking himself. So, business as usual. Schrodinger's monster, yes. You don't know what state it is until you drink it. You don't know whether it's empty or full until you pick up the can. This squirrel is drugged, yes. The squirrel is very drugged. Antihistamines, good. Even then, still not 100%. But I'm not sneezing and snotting all over the place, so that's always good. And it's not affecting my voice too much. And that's the big thing, is with all the postnasal drip, it messes with the voice horribly. Alright. So I need to make sure that the sinuses don't affect the voice. I mean, my doctor's like, I shouldn't take normal antihistamines because they dry out the nose and dry out the body. And my thought is, I'd rather it dry everything out than postnasal drip, because that just destroys everything. Yeah, and that's very much. Just a heavy can versus just like, got a little bit of lead at the bottom or something. I mean, lead probably, just to give it weight. And then just screw with people. That would be funny. Not something that I do, but it would be funny. Huh. I'm glad my childish humor is in keeping you entertained for this. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, well, we're getting there. Trying to keep the streaming constant. I missed one day this week, or one day last week. One day this week, I think. But that day was quite bad. Since then, I've been up to my eyeballs in antihistamines. So, good. Thank you, Mo. Thank you. I mean, it's not normally the normal voice. Mode 1, as people call it. Male mode 1. Male mode 1 is like my strongest voice, so it wouldn't affect it too much. It normally affects the stamina of the voice and then also the range of the voice. But yeah, I think I'm good. It's a bit strained today, but it shouldn't be too bad. As far as I could find, no. It wasn't a multi-parter, but it might be. It just wasn't linked in the story. And my assumption when recording it was that I can't remember what they were called. The diplomat that she was going to meet the other team with, they probably caused Earth's destruction and the humanitarian crisis that gave her all the scars. So she was going to murder them for humanity and revenge. That was my reading of it. It could be wrong. But you do get stories like that, where it just ends in a cliffhanger. And it's like, make up your own ending. A lot more common these days. So, I mean, I think it was just a bit too subtle on some of the dialogue. They kind of tied it all together. Okay, I'll have a look for part 2 then. I know Random 3X, was it Random 3X? Echoing, can't remember who it was. But he does everything in like one universe. Fubits, I don't think I'm too far behind on Epic Loot. Excuse me. But series in general are going to take a while. Yeah, Epic Loot is on hiatus at the moment. So we're one chapter behind what the author has released to the public. Right. Yeah, so we were caught up with pretty much... Come on. Multitasking, not my best superpower. Ha, got it. Okay. Yeah. No, not a problem. I mean, I also enjoy that story. I mean, it's, I think, currently one of the oldest stories that I've done, as in, like, one of the first ones I started with. But he does have a very irregular posting style at points. No. Right. Was there an actual link? Was it removed? I'll look for it after stream. For some reason, my copying the link across isn't working. So yeah. Yes. Managing the beard does eat up all the multitasking capabilities. So does the antihistamines, to be quite honest. I can see the link, but I'm trying to... Where was it? I think my bot removed it. My bot. The bot. I will post it as soon as I get it working. HTTP Reddit. Reddit. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's removing the link for me as well. I think. Yep. Yep. Good morning, Mr. Fancy772. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. You're pretty early. We've been at it for 25 minutes, and at least 15 minutes of that is me been trying to enter in a URL to figure something out. It's a good thing I didn't have that on screen. It auto-completed something that it shouldn't have auto-completed. So, a very good thing that I didn't have that on stream. Can you just give me the title, the full title, and I'll just do a search. Because the link's not working for me. HFY. There's an R there. That's why. Ooh. Thank you, Mr. Fancy Pants, for the follow. It is definitely appreciated. Haha, got it. Righty. For those who want The Last Human Diplomat Chapter 2, there is the link. Which hopefully my bot won't remove my link that I put into my chat, but, you know, technology is weird. There we go, and there we go. It is both in Twitch. Yes, definitely help, fellas. I managed to get the URL to work before I can... I did a search on the chapter name, but thank you very much. Good evening, Disorder. I hope you're doing well. Yes, I always hit the like button on my own streams because I like my own stuff. It's a bit of a, you shouldn't like your own stuff, but hey, it's my exact creative style, so why wouldn't I like my own stuff? Yeah, so Lord Volpic says it right. He's inconsistent. Epic loot, just, you get used to it. So, by the time I'm recording series again, it might start, but maybe not. Huh, I'm glad you enjoyed the epic loot stuff. I find it quite funny. I enjoy the light-hearted stuff. Good morning, Rolando. Hope you're doing well. AJ, morning to you as well. Yeah, wow. I don't know what's going on there. Why would it do that? I think it's because it's got comment in it. Does that work? Okay. Alrighty. I think it's because it's got an extra comment in the URL. But at least to get you to the right page. So this is better than what we had before. Not sure actually. Will W? YouTube takes 30%. That much I can tell you. So super chats and memberships, YouTube takes 30%. I think Twitch takes 50%? Because I'm a mere affiliate on Twitch. But whatever's easiest for you. Twitch is nice for the free Prime subs. So that doesn't cost anybody any money. So if you've got a free Prime sub, sling it my way. I would be grateful. But if pure revenue, I think YouTube is better. Twitch is new to me. I mean, I know it exists, but I've never actually used the website. I don't really... there's a Ko-Fi link in the description of most of my videos. Ah, the lobotomizer. I meet you again. And you attacked me last night and just destroyed half my brain. Otherwise, you were called antihistamines last night, but you are subtly the lobotomizer. But yes, I'm feeling as well as I can be. Antihistamines and lots of antihistamines. I was busy holding back the hay fever, but we're getting there. Voice-wise, full range, which is awesome. Stamina, I would say, is at about 50%. As a rough guess. So we work every day to push that up to 100%. I don't think I'll ever get past 100%. I just, the consistency is the thing that I was really after. Yes, Captain No Name. I always keep an eye on that. Oh, thank you for the upgrade, Tomo. It's a Tomok. Tomo K77. Very much appreciated. Fair enough, lobotomizer. Fair enough. Well, I mean, your brother must be antihistamine. Or sister. You make a powerful pair. Ko-Fi link. Do I have a Ko-Fi link? I do have a Ko-Fi link. Which, for me, actually, Ko-Fi just pays out to PayPal. It is, for the large part, just the same as paying out to PayPal. Yeah, so part of my problem before the surgery, Mr. Fancy Pants. So Mr. Fancy Pants says, 100% is different every day, which is true. Before the surgery, my consistency was quite bad. So I didn't actually label my voices. Just on a day-to-day basis, it was voices I could do versus voices I couldn't do. Because my voice just wasn't working correctly. So I didn't have much consistency in my voices. So that was part of the reason why I got the surgery, was to get more consistent in the voices. So trying to get that 100% more consistent. But you're right. I mean, every day is different. It depends on how you sleep, how you hydrate, all that stuff. Well, for me. Goodbye, Mo. I hope your classes are informative and fun and, most importantly, quick. The PayPal link, yes, I do. It is... All the links are on my YouTube. I don't think I have them on my Twitch. I don't even know how to check what my channel looks like on Twitch. To be quite honest. Let me have a look. Is this going to be me screaming at myself? No, it's muted. Yeah, so we'll... Is it in the description? Did I actually remember to put it in the description? I did. There we go. There's also a Streamlabs link, which I don't know whether that works anymore. But PayPal is this. For any that are interested. I should probably put that into my link on my YouTube stream. That would make sense. Let me quickly do that. Yes, I mean, there's even links to like things like my Discord server in the body of most of my videos. Not a problem, Lobotomizer. I'm glad that you're enjoying the work. Hopefully I can help you fall asleep. I won't suddenly just start screaming fire just to wake you up. That would be cruel. That would be cruel and funny, but cruel mostly. The thing about my descriptions on YouTube is I don't think I've specifically changed them in years. Okay, there we go. I think I'll just do these. Right, edit. No, don't make that bold. Paste. Okie dokie. Right. If you refresh the page on YouTube, there should be a whole host of things in the description, which is a bunch of social stuff, bull stuff, crap, if you will. I'm not really a big fan of social media, and multiple ways to support the channel, which doesn't include memberships and subscriptions from Twitch. Should probably edit that. I think I'll remove the Streamlabs. Okay. Awesome. I don't even think I use Streamlabs anymore. Oh, wait, I don't. Because there was a very big, scream rhyme. Or, there'll be dragons over there. Oh yes, Streamlabs did some really dodgy stuff with OBS, so I stopped using them. Can't remember the specifics because it was more than a week ago, but there you have it. Thank you for popping past, Phyllis. It's very much appreciated. I hope you have a fantastic day making plushies. Awesome plushies, I'd assume. Because, why do anything less than awesome? Again? What did I say? Did I say again? Now you confused me. I can't remember what I said. This is verbal diarrhea is the streamer's motto. Oh, them. I think that's when I stopped using them, Phyllis, 2 years ago. But also I haven't been streaming much, so... Well, I haven't really streamed at all in 2 years, so it hasn't been that much of a problem. I just use the base form of OBS. I don't use Streamlabs at all. Hello, Chris de la Cruz. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for popping past the stream. It's very much appreciated. Yes, that's the reason why I stopped using them, Phyllis. They stole a bunch of stuff from OBS. It's like, that's not really nice. So now I just use, now I just use the base form of OBS. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Itchy neck. Oh, right. This is like stupid. Today, the background music is the same as yesterday. It is artist.io mostly. But we have our 4 songs that we created. There's one of them. We'll just start that again. Yeah, I mean, updates always break stuff. No, it's not fluffy. It's a thick cotton, I think. It's not too bad. It's not a proper suit. So, I mean, there's no inner lining or anything. It's, but when I got it made for myself, I got it made so that I could just wear it on a daily basis in a recording environment, rather than it being warm or anything. But normally it's quite comfortable. It is tailored to my... The only time it's uncomfortable is when I move my hands. Because he seemed to got the wrong measurement for my forearms. And the length of my arm. Don't know whether you can see that. Yeah, multi-streaming. We're using all the technologies. All of them. At the same time. Well, trying at least. I don't know, goofy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I enjoy, like, funny stuff. Terry Pratchett's like one of my favorite authors, so that should help to explain my reading style. I like light-hearted stuff, and stuff that can make you think, but they don't cram stuff down your throat. No, they didn't give me any extra material. It wasn't full. Well, it was a budget, Taylor. Budget. So, you get what you paid for. I mean, I don't move my arms too much, so it's fine, but it's just the way that it rides up my arm. It's just a bit weird. Shoulders are fine. Neck's fine. It's just the arms. Yeah. So, I mean, I am thinking of getting a new one made. Because this one is custom. So they took all my measurements and made it. Because it is a altered safari suit, which is what I wanted. A more militaristic safari suit. So, I am thinking of... The other thing is the buttons. The buttons are always falling off. From all over the place. I think we've sewn on all the buttons at least once. Some of them a dozen times. So, that's a bit annoying. Good morning, Redvex. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, so the new one, when I'm ready to do that, I'll probably put up a poll somewhere, maybe in a live stream, I don't know, about getting the colors and stuff. Brown's okay, because it's nice, because it has to contrast the green of the green screen and the blue tones in the background. So brown works, but I'm not a huge fan of brown. Yeah, this has got none of that. Well, I'm glad that you're well, Redvax. That's always a good thing. It's the best we can hope for on a day-to-day basis. For the new color, I'm thinking black and red. Some people have suggested blue, but I think blue would just not pop off the blue backgrounds nicely. Can't go with anything green because that'll interfere with green screen and we'll end up with just a floating head. So, yeah, no, it's still ongoing, Redvax. My battle with hay fever is still ongoing. We are 3 antihistamines into the day. 2 antihistamines into the day. Seems to be controlling it quite nicely. Chris de la Cruz. So, I have been to the doctor recently. I've got my full range, but I'm lacking in stamina, which I suppose is a common problem for middle-aged men, but, you know. I'll only probably start series once I'm back at 100% stamina, so that I can get the recordings done. Until then, TFOS is going to be the main priority because it brings in more views and more money. It's a fact of life. It sucks, but it is the way it is. So once my stamina is back and my recording schedule is back to where it was, I can start doing series. I thought that it might be 2 months after surgery, but we're already 1 month after surgery, and I'm only back to 50%. So it might even be 3 months, or 2 months from today. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Kandaria. So, yeah, a month at the least, 2 months at the most, I'll be back to the series. I don't know whether they will be done on stream, AJ. I'm still thinking about that. Because a lot of people buy the memberships to get early access to the stuff, even though it does come out for free. And the memberships is more just to support the channel. But people are impatient, so they'll buy the membership. So I don't know whether to make it a members-only stream. I don't feel great about that. I like having my content free for everybody. So I'm not sure, is the short answer. But that's not a today problem. That's a next week, next month problem. I don't know whether navy blue would work. Like I said, most of my backgrounds have a very dark blue, or a blue theme to them. So navy blue wouldn't pop off as much, I don't think. I mean, the oranges, there are hints of orange here. Everybody can see. So this one does have, it's brown and orange. So this is two-tone. You can see here, two-tone. Not that you see it much. So, yeah, so I was thinking of black as the main suit and then red, wherever this is orange, would be my thought. But I'll have to speak to the tailor, because I have no idea what is and isn't possible, what looks nice. You had to do something silly last night, Red Vex. What might that be? Not a problem, Chris. I mean, this is part of the reason why I do the stream, is to answer people, to interact with everybody, to keep the algorithm happy while I recover, you know, all those things. Okay. A Siri song. That could be funny. Fair enough, Phyllis. Fair enough. I think we're all impatient in some way. Even if we know it's coming out for free, we're like, we want it now! No! Damn it! So, I think doing it on stream would be a disservice to the people that pay for membership and early access. Maybe. I'll ask. I'll put up a poll and ask. I think that's the most fair way of doing it. And if it is a problem, then I'll figure something out. Well, I mean, it can't be green. Anything green is going to get taken out by the green screen. I mean, we can technically do green, but it adds so much extra work. It's also part of the reason why I don't wear glasses. Is now it's not so bad. But the moment I put green on the screen, we have green reflections of the glasses. So when we do green screening, parts of the glasses get taken away. Well, maybe. I'd have to... It depends on the tailor, whether they would give me a lightsaber or not. I'm leaning towards probably not. But I mean, black and red's quite nice. It's will definitely stick out against this. But maybe I need to stick with the brown, because it's kind of now sort of synonymous with the channel as the brown suit. Neon, I should just go RGB. Just go full gamer mode. Just flashing the lights, constantly cycling through RGB, and obnoxiously timed, just epileptic, apocalyptic flashing. Good morning, Milky. Hope you're doing well. I also didn't want to make it look too much like a real uniform for like Stolen Valor stuff. So, I mean, this looks close enough that I won't answer the door wearing it, because that would cause problems. But it's not so close to a uniform that, you know, anybody in a military would go, that's a uniform. What are you doing with it? Yes, green screen them out. Then they don't worry. If you use green screen, you can just remove them from whatever they're doing. Yeah, I mean, it is possible to do it, but we're a two-person operation, so we try to make things as shortcutty as possible. So we can just worry about the content. I mean, you can see the chair is doing weird stuff. But that's the stream. The green screen removal software on the editing side is a lot better. Yeah. Or either that or hypnotize them. So they're either going to have an epileptic fit or be mind controlled. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I also don't want to make this operation too big. I mean, there's too many channels that expand so fast that the first tight month they have to lay people off and everything. So, I mean, the surgery has cost me 50% of the revenue on my channel, which, thankfully, we could take because it's just me and the wife. But if I had employees, it'd make things so much more difficult. Mark, yes, they're all good. They are at a friend's place because I'm immigrating and I've moved recently, so you can't immigrate fish. It's just not going to happen. So I had a friend who was thinking about getting back into aquariums and stuff, so I gave him all the stuff. And they're happy and healthy and all that. Yes, definitely. Ask Charlie Chaplin. He would know all about it. Fair enough, Chris. Fair enough. Why, thank you, Phyllis. Thank you. I mean, Charlie Chaplin also played The Great Dictator with the exact same moustache. Roughly about the same person. Yeah, although, I mean, there's... I think there's enough variety in HFY stories that it isn't as singular as something like No Sleep. No Sleep is very singular. And anything that doesn't fit the mold is very bad. Whereas HFY, there's quite a wide variety. I mean, the theme can be applied to most things. very, very, very... Or unless you have a necromancer. Well, then he's very talkative. Otherwise, not so much. I don't think it was Charlie Chaplin. I think that it could have been Charlie Chaplin. But there was an actor, Buster something. He did all that stuff. He pioneered all that stuff. Buster Keaton, I think. Barn falling actor. If you think Charlie Chaplin was brave for that, Buster Keaton. Look up Buster Keaton. He pioneered all of that. You think stunt guys have it hard now? He did insane stuff that would just be not allowed at all these days. Yes, yes. Physics, the best special effects. Fair enough, Phyllis. Fair enough. I mean, he did a bunch of shenanigans as well. Dangerous stuff. Hey, never complain about OT. Well, I suppose there is a point to complain about it. But, hey, OT is OT. As long as you get OT. I mean, when I worked in corporate, I didn't get paid OT. So whether I worked an 8-hour day or a 76-hour day, I got paid the same, which is not great. But they not cooked the books. When they hired me as a manager, but I didn't manage anybody. But managers can't earn overtime, so they never had to pay overtime. Wesley, Mark Smith. Yeah. If I had to get rid of one character, it would probably be him. All right. Well, I knew what I was getting into. The salary was kind of worth it. But it did suck. What I loved is when other people had to work overtime. And you're like, yeah, it's just the way this works. Sucks, but we get free food. Anyways, we do need to get onto some work, maybe. No, we don't. Chapter 2. I closed it. Why did I close it? And diplomat. No, that's true, Phyllis. But I mean, for my case, I was the only person doing the job that I did. So if I didn't do it, it would be a mess. I mean, I didn't even get really holidays. I had to carry my work laptop with me on vacation. Just in case something went wrong. Okay. So, question. For those that found Chapter 2 of The Diplomat, is there a Chapter 3? Oh, thank you very much for the follow. Long live chaos. You were here yesterday. You did the same thing yesterday. And never guess what. It's just strange, I know. The same result's gonna happen. You are getting blocked. Goodbye. Ban? How do I ban? Reporting. Spam. Spam, scam, bots. Next. False bots. Okay. Q. Reported. Awesome image. Sorry, we just had a bot come into the Twitch chat to talk some mad crap about, I don't know, something. Joshua, Roltz Baton, the author, he released all of the books on Amazon under the name Behold Humanity. He also used their service to auto-generate a narration for the whole series. But that comes at the cost of exclusivity. So technically Amazon owned the rights to the audio content. So I had to remove it. Which is, yeah. So it is all available on Amazon. The books and then the TTS of that. Just to be fair, don't go and be a pain to Roltz. To narrate, if you was going to pay somebody to narrate all of that, would probably cost $30,000 to narrate First Contact. That is a lot of money for something that probably isn't going to generate $30,000. So the only real option is to use the TTS. Yeah. Phyllis, I know I'm asking you. Does it conclude the story? Yeah. That is a lot of money. Real life narrations cost a good chunk of money. Fair enough, Joshua. Fair enough. But sometimes the economic factors in it are just ridiculous. Well, pushing to a certain level. Alright. Nothing interesting happening there. Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be slightly different. I mean, maybe at some point it'll replace me, but I don't think that's today. As we were talking about this in the Discord server, and I said, the way to beat AI channels is quite easy, and that is to be more human than they are. Human emotion, connectedness, and all of that stuff. Also, the light at the end of the tunnel is the most watched no-sleep channels, narration, are human, not Reddit, TTS. So people will gravitate towards the more human option, I think. If that makes sense. I was going to look up something, but I forgot. No idea what I was going to do. Oh, that. Okay, my brief scanning of chapter 2 is... it completes the story, so I might actually do that. Well, most audiobook narrators barely earn minimum wage in the US. Just as a thing. So, AJ, it should all be on Audible, but it's not under First Contact. It is under Behold Humanity. All of them are done. There are hardcover versions available of the books. Again, it's just First Contact doesn't make sense for the name of the series, because First Contact only happens in the first 6 chapters. After that, it's something else. So he renamed it to Behold Humanity. My personal narration. I'm trying to think. The hot chicken, male chicken. The hot male chicken one. That was quite amusing. It proved a point that I would read an hour-long story just to tell a stupid joke. So that one's also got the outburst where it took me 5 minutes just to do the title of the song, the title of the story. Fair enough, Will W. Fair enough. I mean, that also changes stuff. Twitch. Yes. I'll post the channel on Twitch. Suppose there and there. That's my Twitch channel. Good morning, Terry. I hope you're doing well. So yes, I multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. Just in case. Gotta put all those eggs in all the different baskets so you forget about them. And that is very true, Peanut. But, I mean, you could consider it First Contact with a specific series, so you could do it multiple times in a story. But by the end of chapter 20, they're not introducing new species, so you can't have First Contact with that species, and it becomes something very different. But you have to keep the name, because that's what it was built on. I mean, I understand why he kept calling it First Contact, but it just doesn't suit the story. Behold Humanity is definitely a better title for the whole thing. He's also structured it differently on the Amazon, which is better, I think. So he's got storylines rather than chopping in between several storylines at the same time. So he's got like one book following this character and one book following that character, which makes it easier to keep track of what's happening. What did I say this was? 4,908. Yeah, okay. Change of plans. So I think I'll do the Last Human Diplomat. No. Ooh, thank you for the follows. It's very much appreciated. Oh. Prop Rat, Wiggett, Taryn DM. Thank you all for the follow. Very much appreciated. It's going well. It's going well. Keeping on, keeping on. Thank you for asking. And you? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm looking over here, not to ignore you, chat. I'm just quickly changing my recording schedule. To include The Last Human Diplomat, Chapter 2. Echoing Cascade, that's right. No? Maniacal, monocle. This is on the fly. No. Give me a URL, stupid thing. That working? Okay, that works. 4908. It's quite a long story. 4908. That is a long story. But yes, we shall do it. All right. Okay, so NSFW stuff, I don't really care. But making money off of NSFW stuff is very difficult. And that is a rabbit hole that just keeps on going. So, I mean, gratuitous violence is one thing, but sexualized stuff is something else entirely. I started off with a story that was very touch and go with the NSFW stuff, and I didn't like it. Simply because I don't like romance in general as a genre. So, yeah. That's the big problem with NSFW stuff. YouTube also, they're okay with like violent stuff, but sexualized stuff, they're not. Yeah, I'm very much not into sexualized stuff. And I mean, it also means that my channel would be completely demonetized. Thank you, Pop Rat. And it's fair enough. It is a weird time for most of the world, but it is my normal workday. So, time travel, making life more complicated for things. Ghost Reaper, thank you for the $20 super chat. It's very much appreciated. Galactic OSHA. That's how you become the most hated race in the universe. Just specialized in health and safety. Yeah, Nature of Predators was. I liked that he finished it. So there was an end. That rarely happens with a web novel. Yes. I could put it all up for Patreon only, but I don't. I put it out for free. I give people early access, and then it's for free. So, there it is. I can narrate most of the stuff. I don't mind doing it, for the most part. I can put all my effort into doing it. But when it comes for NSFW, even though there is technically a lot of money to be made there, I'm just not there for that. And then that's the fair dazness. Some stories go hard in the gore factor, but for the most part, it's more acceptable than explicit content, sexual explicit content. Gotta love those antihistamines. Just. I actually think there are stories related to OSHA, short stories, but they all kind of jumbled together in my head. All right. So the work changed, which is fine. We're only going to do one story today, but it is a 30-minute story and a conclusion to the other story we did. We're doing... You moving over here, chat. We're changing from there to there. And we're doing some stuff over here. Nice and relaxing work day. I think I'll just call it part 2. Rather than chapter 2. Chapter makes it seem like it's going to be an ongoing series. From my brief read of the last chapter, it seems like this ends satisfyingly as a conclusion. So part 2 makes more sense than chapter 2. Right. List of voices. List of... Where is it? There. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good morning, Hawkface. Thank you for the kind words, and I'm glad you enjoy the content. Mark Smith? No. So, I did try and do the shorts because everybody was telling me to do shorts, so I tried it. It wasn't successful in any manner. Didn't bring any new subscribers. It didn't generate any income, so probably not. Hawk Force? No. That story that I wrote was the first story I've written in 10 years. So it's not like I write on a consistent basis. All right. Even while I work at this stage, I can still interact with you, chat. So ask questions. I don't mind. If I did mind, I wouldn't answer them. If you're new here, spoilers ahead. This is a new story. It's a part 2 to a story I did 2 days ago. So if you don't want to hear this in its nacelle stage, in its pre-constructed stage, then you probably don't want to stick around. As well as if you're new here and you do want to stick around, what is going to happen is I'm going to go through the story. I'm going to assign voices to all the stuff, which is just prep work for the narration. So, for instance, everybody knows Mode 1 by this point. Mode 1, or Male 1, is my normal voice, my narration voice. So most of a story would be done in that. Yeah, I agree with that, Prop Rat. I mean, I have done stories where there has been sexual relations, but they've been brief about it, not discussed it in detail, and then moved on. Because it wasn't fundamental to the story. Maybe the act was, but the details weren't, if that makes sense. Anyway, so yes, I've got a list of 23 voices currently that I can do, plus minus. There are variations in some voices, so probably close to 40 voices. if I include variations. So we'll go through, we'll label everything with the appropriate voice, and then once that is done, we go into the ignoring phase. That is where I ignore you, chat. We go to this phase, the green screen, so that I can record the video. Because OBS doesn't allow me to stream one scene, which is this scene, and record another scene, which is this scene. And I don't want to use the green screen on OBS, because the green screen on the editing software is better. So that's that. I hope that all makes sense. It makes sense in my mind, but, you know, that doesn't actually mean it makes sense to everybody else. I will warn you that this is quite a long story. It is I messed something up here. Whoops. Oh yeah. That was close. Almost messed up my recording schedule. And then I wouldn't know what to do. Yes. Okay. There we go. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, some people would imagine that I record each voice individually. I don't. It is inefficient to do it that way. As the narrator, you need to do it in the most efficient way possible, which is to do all the voices in the same way that it's written down. That way you don't have to edit everything together and then try to get all the audio stabilized and equalized to each other. Anyways, so yes, M1, M1. M1. So this is just normal narrator voices, M1. M1. Now I'm going to have to remember what voices I used the last time. Although there shouldn't be too much overlap. Reen. Okay, so this is F1 before female one. I don't have too many female voices, but this is the first one. M1. 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 Right, so this is F1. I can't remember what voice I used for this. F2. Which is a snooty female voice. M1. And that is the total amount of female voices I have is F1 and F2. Okay, so most of the story is in a single narrative, which is great. Less strain on the voice. M1. E1. M1. And the other thing which is common is my moustache is in a constant state of war with my nose hairs. I am the victim of this conflict, but neither seem to care. So you might see me scratching my nose quite often, especially when I'm talking. Thankfully, My eyebrows tend to be Switzerland because it doesn't get involved with the battle between my moustache and nose. Mainly because it's nowhere near that. It has its own battle of being unruly. I mean, you know you've got bad eyebrows, when they have bad hair days. Or, in my case, a bad hair life. Okay. Okay. Badoopy doop. Badoopy doop. Arrival of food distracted the yonks and allowed Reen an opportunity to talk with Holoitus. Okay, so this is F1. Good. I have no idea. Male, female? Female. I've run out of female voices. I suppose I could technically do female 3. Which is slow, old. Sure, just add a new voice. Just install the software. So, I'm imagining it'll be something like, well, piracy is a constant in the universe, like gravity. Pure reply, yeah. And it's a musical accent. You can never, never. Right. Ba-dum-ba-dump. Ah, yes. The baddies. We shall give him a... What are we going with this? Snively voice, M4. So something like, well, more like a century's worth. Something like that. Annoying. Annoying-ish. M1, blah, 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 blah. F1. F3? Question mark. Oh, the deputy director. That's F2? 2. Yes, that is very true. I think that is an adequate sign of middle age, is when this battle between the nose hairs and the moustache become an outright war of attrition. Deputy director. Who is the deputy director? Okay, now this is the annoying guy, isn't he? Yes, this is M4. The deputy director replied. The rude yonk was still staring. Yes. I think the fighter or two following in the 4 ships wake is a far cry from putting an armed patrol fleet in the DMZ. Sleep well, Red Vex. And thank you for popping past. It's very much appreciated. Another one. We'll go with pompous this one. Political philosophy from a clerk. The DNC's been too sacrosanct for far too long. So, very mightier than thou accent. Excuse me. And that is the antihistamines kicking in. So, nose is not itchy, but I could happily curl up under the desk next to the cat. Well, on the floor next to the cat, because I'm pretty sure it wouldn't let me on the blanket. Vesa. Vesa? Vesa. Vesa's F2. This is the person from the top. No, that's luck. Vesa? Who's Vesa? Oh, Vesa is the other. Then who's luck? Do we have luck talking? No, we don't have luck talking. Anyway, so, yes, I was right. It is the older female, talking very slowly. F2. Ooh, Scion. Whoop. Annoying voice number 1. That's F2. F2. Look, I mean, assimilating an accent in writing, there's two real ways of doing it, which is writing the sentence the way the person would speak, which is what I'm a fan of, but that is grammatically incorrect. You need to write the word in what a person is saying in a grammatically correct fashion, and then describe it in the description part. So there would be like what they're doing here. He said, she said. He said with a weird accent, stuttering and all of that stuff. Which is describing the way that it was said. I personally find changing the way the person speaks, it gives them more character. That's why I do tend to, when I'm talking in a specific character type voice, I might change the words that they're saying to fit more the accent that I'm giving them. That's as a narrator. But as a writer, I can understand why people wouldn't want to read a broken sentence, for lack of a better word. So, yeah. I couldn't tell you what the correct way is. I went to trade school, so... But yeah, my preference personally is, in writing and stuff like that, is to write how the character would speak. So that it gives... Because, I mean, not everybody speaks in perfect grammar. Nobody speaks in perfect grammar. So you can change the grammatical inconsistencies as how they talk. But when you write it down on a page, it has to be grammatically correct. Reen continued F1. But a kind of pet peeve of mine with the narration is when there's no indication of who is talking at any particular time. And this story doesn't do it, but the peeps that have been with on some of the previous live streams, I would sit and try to figure out who's talking, because there's no context given to who's talking. So they would have like a conversation between three people, and trying to figure out who at any point is talking is not easy. But when you read it, it's fine, because it kind of makes sense in your head. But when I narrate it, I have to give each one of those a unique voice, so it becomes a bit of a challenge. Yeah, like I said, I prefer it peanut. But each to their own. I can understand why it would be a difficult sentence to read, especially if you don't know what accent they're trying to simulate. So that's when you need the additional context. Ooh, 3. Annoying human voice. Ugh, ugh. I don't have enough caffeine. Apparently. F1. F1. And the student. Who's the student? I didn't see a reference. I did see a reference. Don't think the student has said anything yet. Trade school for narration. So there's a running joke in my family. Well, my family, with my wife. So I went to trade school. I specialized in this. My trade was this very, very new thing hitting the market at that time, which is called electronics. You may have heard of it. But back then it was considered a trade still. Now it's just considered engineering and an electrician. But anyway, that's irrelevant. So whenever my wife asked me a question that I could possibly not know, like, I don't know, the speed of an unladen swallow, I'll be like, oh, don't know. I was absent the day they taught that at trade school. Or, economic principles, I'd be like, I don't know. I was absent that day at trade school. Or brain surgery, I was like absent that day. So whenever there's a question that, my schooling would never have taught me, I'd be like, yeah, they did it in trade school, but I was just absent that day. So yes, they taught narrations in high school, but I was actually there that day because that's where it all began. Back in the pre-days, before the internet, in the forever long ago, they used to make us stand up in class and read in English and Afrikaans, any language basically. And because I had a decent voice and I could read and talk, they would make me stand up and read almost all the time. So they'd be like, Shakespeare. Oh, yes. Nobody else here can read and talk, so you're doing it all. So that's kind of where it started. Not a problem prop, but you must also remember that a lot of the web content just spits in the face of convention. So you need to cater to your audience rather than to any writing structure. Yeah, so, writing narratives is also, I prefer this type of writing in narrative rather than the he said, she said, he said, she said, they should. Reading-wise, this is better. It's giving you a lot more context, it's doing some world building in the background. So I prefer this way of writing the stories, but I can understand I think it would be a more older version, where it's like, Jane, word. Jack, whatever. Jane, whatever. Even though it does give you context, it doesn't give you, or tells you who's speaking, it doesn't necessarily give you context of what is being said. Okay, so the student hasn't spoken yet, was where we got to. I don't think. F2? Or did the student speak? Reen is the main character. Okay. Ah, the student is speaking. Let me just do M10. Because I have no idea. I've run out of Fs. I have no more Fs to give. Good night, Terry. Hope you sleep well. And thank you for joining us. It's very much appreciated. F1. M1. M1. Luck. Who's Luck? Can't remember what voice we used for Luck. Probably M10. I'll go with M13 because I can't remember. M13 is frog-faced lower pitch, otherwise known as a certain 1940s English passing resemblance to them. So it'd kind of be like, it's the inconsistency. It's all that maddens me. One day I'll have a formal trade agreement from a clan, and the next day they'll call the same clan has been raided by a caravan. Sort of that thing. It's really bad, Winston Churchill, but it does the job. Okay. Snooty or Snivelly? M4. Barrett. Meh. Because there are two aliens that have been named so long. One's Scion and the other one's Barrett, I think. Yes. Hey, if it works, it works. The combination you never knew you needed in your life. M1, racism. Oh, good. Algorithm's gonna love that word. Okay, so it was a student. Student. We did M10. Okay, so I don't have any more female voices, so it's going to be M10. M1. Ignore the comment. Blah, 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 blah. So this is M4. M1. M4. Good morning or afternoon. Yana? Yania? Yania? Aether. Yeah, so Yania. I hope you're doing well. This is the mostly boring part of assigning voices to characters. So I've got a bag of voices that I can pull from, so I just need to assign them to a specific character. while I read. M1. F1. I try. Sometimes I succeed, so I'm glad I did succeed this time. Right. This is also F1. All the way over to here. And then here, F1. There. This is cowardly rather than snooty. I might have swapped them around at this point. M1. M1. And a sneeze brewing. That's fantastic. Okay. I think we'll do a Cockney voice for this one, because why not? Oh, sorry, sires, I was too ambitious to deliver them all at once. And one. I think this is F1. Not a problem, Yana. It's Yania. If you do want me to narrate it, or you don't mind, all I ask is send me a message on Reddit, giving me permission, and I'll add it to my list. Thank you for the follow, Terrendal. Yeah, got that one right. It is very much appreciated. We're slowly but surely, yep, there's the goal. We've reached the goal, 220. Now time to move the goalposts, quite literally. Not a problem, Yena. It's all good. All good. What am I doing? Voices and stuff. Stuff and things. Always have to do stuff and things. Right. M1. This is M10. Mark decided to surrender and pushed a chair back from the table, signaling she was finally going to rotate elsewhere. She tried her luck one more time, however, moved her hand into Barrett's personal space. I'll bring up her contact card. Okay. Yes, I do know it's a female character, and yes, I do know I'm putting a male voice to it, but I've run out of female voices. Oh, I'm glad that it is helping Tyrandil with the workday, that you're enjoying the content. And the support is definitely appreciated. This is M. The problem is Tyrandil. I'm using a combined chat to read what chat says, and then the follows happen through Twitch. But I can't see that. So I can see a blurred image of what it says, so I have to guess, and then go look on Twitch, the website, to make sure that I've actually got the name right. I could use an extra screen, but I already have 3. Oh wait, there's only one. Scion. Scion wasn't the name of the person, it was the race. Okay. Still voice number 1. Voice number 1. Voice number 1. Okay, M10. M1. M10. No, this is just some guy. Just some guy. Just some guy that's gonna talk in a 18. Dry with no inflection. I don't know. Hardest. I mean, this voice, the Jonathan Hurt knockoff, can be a bit hard on the voice, mainly because I am forcing a vocal fry. So that can be a bit challenging. This will become a lot easier since the surgery. I think Scottish and Cockney, I get the two mixed up because the speech patterns are very close in my head. And then just female voices, because that's new to me now. And children's voices. But it is all about practice. If you do not practice, you cannot get better. Also the American accent one. I'm still struggling with that one. Okay. I think that is it. Open up the teleprompter software. Teleprompter. Paste it in. So I'd say that why I said the Jonathan Hurt voice is that voice I could only do when my voice was in distress before. So when my voice was tired, when I was a bit overworked, then I could only do that. When my voice was perfectly healthy, I couldn't do the Jonathan Hurt voice. But now I can do it whenever I want. Fair enough, Lord Volpex. Fair enough. But, it's always good to try and improve. Keep moving forward. The American voice is just not quite there yet. It's a bit wishy-washy. But the other problem is not only in the pronunciation of certain things, it is the words that they use. So, you have to change your vocabulary to a certain degree, which I suppose is all accents. Okay, so we're going into recording mode. Recording mode. And we're opening up recording software. Okay. Got all that. Take these bad boys off. And hit record. And record. Okay. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where we continue the story from last night. If you're new... Nope, let's do that again. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where we take stories from across the internet, read them for your entertainment. This particular story is a continuation of last night's story called The Last Human Diplomat, written by Maniacal Monocle. Lights flickered from the disrepair in the tram station for the Plains District. Reen emerged from the crowded train and climbed the stairs two at a time. A discreet scanner in the wall analyzed her ID and communicated with the turnstiles to let her pass. Reen emerged into the Plains District, a section of the ring purpose. A section of the ring purpose-made for the aristocratic class of the Roan Tar. Grass covered every patch of flat ground, and vines climbed up most archways and walls. Luck's apartment in the ring was much more than an estate than Reen's. Luck's apartment in the ring was much more of an estate than Reen's. It wasn't freestanding, still linking together with a long line of houses that formed a wall around the central walkway. It did, however, have a lawn out front. Luck had filled it with all the notable flora of the the Run-Tar homeworld. Reen was the last to arrive, a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. Luck was waiting on a bench designed for her centaur-like frame, while the other invited diplomats complimented the topiary. The two other guests were Luck's assistant and the Sizine ambassador. The junior staffer appeared to be substantially younger than Luck, although Run-Tar age was still hard to gauge for Reen. His ram horns were short, barely making a half loop. Reen had been told his name once, but had never seen him after the initial introductions, when he first arrived in the ring. Vessa, the Cesian, was somewhat short for her species, but still towered over everyone else. Our co-workers, Reen felt that Vessa was closest to being called a friend. She had arrived in the ring just a few weeks after Reen successfully applied for her office in the ambassador's annex. Vessa had initially been too patronizing to the plight of humanity, but had shown a genuine concern for Reen's refugee constitution. But had shown a genuine concern for Reen's refugee constituents. Vessa's tunic was made of rich leather and had long colored stripes that flowed down the back to accent her plumage. It was sleeveless, allowing her large forelimbs flexibility to carry her body around. Her small manipulator arms were neatly at rest within the folds of an intricate undershirt. She even wore a few rings along her serpentine tail. Luck and her assistant wore rich purple covering over the hind torsos. It reminded Reen of a saddle, but she kept that comparison to herself. Luck had a silken dress with Luck had a silken dress with a fractaline pattern crawling across it like lightning. Her assistant wore something incredibly modest so as to not upstage his boss.
Thank you for waiting, everyone,
Reen told them in Runtar high speech. She was trying and failing to hide that she was out of breath.
Sorry, I lost track of time at home.
Luck gave a short snort and made it neither rude nor forgiving. Luck gave a short snort that was neither rude nor forgiving. Reen dipped her head slightly to Luck, and the junior staffer returned a similar nod. The social display seemed to please Luck and reinforce the desired hierarchy. Luck did not travel on the ring's public trams and would not degrade her guests by having them do so either. She had chartered a shuttle that left from her affluent neighborhood and would take them 60 degrees along the ring to the Yonk College. It was a well-decorated and automated shuttle, with almost all its fuselage committed to passenger comfort. Windows covered much of the ceiling and walls. It was not a machine that Reen would trust in open space. The vessel was of Runtar make, and the seats were likewise fitted to their physiology. While it was overly spacious for Reen, Vesa had a difficulty fitting her body between the floor and the ceiling.
Are you all right, Vesa?
Reen asked the Sazine as she wedged herself sideways into a tiny couch.
Oh, don't worry about me,
Vesa replied. She scrunched her neck back into her torso, which ruffled her ridge of feathers there. She looked somewhat comical, and Reen stifled a laugh. Vesa was in good humor and stifled the laugh herself. The trip was only a few minutes long. The shuttle took a less direct path to provide views of the ring's axial support structures and the parent sun, pale yellow. Reen had been disappointed that the star hadn't been given a more poetic name by the Runtar pioneers. The star system was populated exclusively by massive colorful clouds, rich in minerals but lacking in living space. It seemed to her that the Runtar Republic had grown so large that coming up with good names for their frontier systems just didn't matter anymore. The shuttle quickly passed out of the sunlight and into the shadow of the docked. The shuttle quickly passed out of the sunlight and into the shadow as it docked with the station. They emerged just a moment later from the cramped shuttle into the nauseatingly spacious Yonk College. The college took up a full 5 degrees of the ring and was designed to make you forget that you were on an artificial station. The ceilings were either painted or covered in vid screens which played looping footage of cold blue and auburn sky. Buildings did not stretch floor to ceiling. In fact, the multi-floor design of the ring had surrendered here to a single, dominating reality that was the college. It made Reen feel like she was falling. Yonks walked along the foliage-lined paths between buildings made of brick and wood. Small fauna flit on insect-like wings or scurry up and down the tree lines. It was an impressive display of wealth from the Imperium. It was an excessive use of the ring's resources to propagate this planet-side facade. It was propaganda. It was working. Their host was an elderly representative of the college. Rumor had it that even though he was nearing 200 years old, he was sure pick for the college's next dean. He had initially taken a faculty position as a retirement job after his war service. Luck had talked at length about how a college dean was something worth more as an ally than a dozen primes. Her goal over dinner was to make a notable ally just as they became important. The college architecture was ostentatious in its design and building materials. Everything was constructed, no prefabs. Everything was constructed, no prefabs. Each building was given a wide berth from its neighbors. Maintaining such large open spaces was a display of wealth on par with a gold toilet. And wood, whether fabricated or cut, was outrageously expensive. Reen already felt guilty about the wood in her office and apartment. The college did not have such reservations. A young yonk with no scion markings and a light blue shelled hyphen approached them. As they walked the grounds and offered to escort them to the college's reception hall. The hyphen spoke Imperium Standard through a vocalizer on the top of his barrel-shaped body. Theirs was a species Reed was still not comfortable with. They completely lacked a face and glided along with a single slug-like foot. In a head, they registered more as an animal than a person. The social dynamic between the young and hyphen was obvious. The hyphen was not a student here, but a slave. The college likely owned and leased many hyphen out to their young students. These collegiate hyphen were all some variety of servant, either note-takers or maids. The diplomats could not see the few of them scooting around the grounds, collecting trash or dutifully following a student. It was difficult for Reen to conceptualize the hyphen as a people, but it was a courtesy the Imperium denied them by design. Square columns of steel and stone adorned the entrance to the reception hall. Inscriptions in Imperium Standard spoke of the power and longevity of knowledge. The intimidating architecture seemed to banish the friendly yonk and his servile hyphen. The diplomats were the last to arrive. A small crowd of yonks milled about in the impressively decorated antechamber. Portraits of previous college deans lined the walls. Hyphen, with crisp white fabric fixed to their shells, was silently offering up refreshments and scented vapors. The whole scene reminded Reen of old Earthvid's of black tie, backroom speak. The whole scene reminded Reen of old Earthvids of black tie backroom speakeasies, although the complete lack of humans beside herself made the comparison thin. Luck led the charge, introducing herself and then her guests to their host, a pale and heavily marked scion named Barrett. Barrett likely had a scion score in the high triple digits. Reen had been told that fellow scions were able to read the markings and interpret the score instantly. She only knew that the more intricate and extensive the markings, the more prestigious the young, and the more dangerous, she thought to herself. Small talk in the reception hall was short-lived. It appeared that the dinner, as well as the other guests, had been waiting for the diplomats. Not long after introducing themselves to their host, the doors to the dining room were opened. The central event of the evening was to be the classic Yonk-style dinner, contrary to their species' reputation as loner erudities. Contrary to their species' reputation as loner erudities, Yonk festivities were long, involved social events. By tradition, dinner was always served across multiple tables, kept small to encourage conversation. The host was expected to stay at one table, and guests. The host was expected to stay at one table, and the guests were expected to rotate through the room to their liking. Being too stationary was seen as being a boring curmudgeon, while being too mobile was looked on as flighty or vapid. The evening's attendees were mostly yonks, with many faculty from the university attending, alongside some minor politicians from the Imperium. There was a Kirin Fleet Marshal, as well as a Halutis Deputy Director bureaucrat in attendance. In total, there were 10 tables, each with 6 seats. They were not expected to always fill a table, but never to let one grow empty. The hierarchy was instantly visible to Reen. The Holoitus, despite being a deputy director, was woefully out of space amongst the 2-meter-tall crowd of intellectuals. The Yonks were quietly making sure that she felt lesser. The host had provided universal benches for all the attendees, but notably, the chairs did not include a roosting rest. The chairs did not include a roosting rest for the Heloitus physiology. The kitchen staff were mostly hyphen, with some varties mixed in. The food smelled great, infused with the rich spices and heat that Yonks preferred. Reen had moved tables twice by the time the food was finally brought out. They served her a first course she could only describe as spicy oatmeal, with what looked and tasted like seaweed flakes mixed in. At her current table were 3 Yonk faculty and the Heloitus deputy. The Yonks had been going on and on about economic activity along the DMZ. The arrival of food distracted the Yonks and allowed Reen an opportunity to talk to the Heloitus.
Do you really think the piracy is a big deal in the DMC? Do you really think piracy is that big of a deal in the DMC?
The Heloitus looked surprised that someone was talking to her.
Well, piracy is a constant in the universe, like gravity, she replied in a musical accent. You can never really eliminate it, just prepare for it. But I don't think that a few caravans raided in the last months warrant ending 2 millennium worth of ceasefire. One of the Yonks looked up from their bowl of soup and quipped, Well, more like a century's worth. The Heloitus' frills raised in embarrassment. She dipped her head and pecked at her plate of seeds. Reen took the comment in stride and continued to address the Heloitus. So do you think traders should simply arm themselves when in the DMZ? I think...
Yeah, I think the fighter or 2 following in a 4-ship's wake is a far cry from putting an armed patrol fleet in the DMZ, the deputy director replied. The rude Zonk was still staring at Reen, hoping to elicit a response. The Heloitus' feathers continued to stand on end.
Recent military excursions in the zone aside, putting a patrol fleet in the DMZ will only serve to raise tensions and scare a few pirates. Certainly not worth the risk.
Another Yonk decided to chime in.
Ha! Political philosophy from a clerk. The DMZ has been too sacrosanct for too long. Pirates view it as an open invitation to hide there.
The deputy's feathers began to calm as the Yonks took control of the conversation.
2 possibilities exist. Either there is a pirate planet or there is not. If there is, then the solution is to find and burn it. If there is not, then we simply must be more vigilant at port and weed them out.
Another Yonk interjected with an esoteric rebuttal, and Reen took this as a sign to move tables, taking her bowl of spice oatmeal with her. One table closer to the host, she found Vesa and yet more Yonks. This table had a densely marked scion, and the only student in attendance. She was conspicuously the only of her species without scion markings in the room. The Chiron marshal had just left, and Vesa was talking about post-commonality literature.
You're judging the first generation too harshly. When you've been required to follow forms for so long, it makes sense that you'd flock to the abstract,
Vesa said to the scion.
But you have to admit that some of Gira's treatise is borderline unreadable, ending and starting sentences at random. Some of the pages were handwritten, the scion replied. No argument here, but I understand where Gira's coming from. I've read pre-commonality prose, and it makes me nauseous, like automated number readouts.
Vesa laughed to herself in that deep, trilling sound that made Reen feel at ease.
What about human literature, Reen? Any notable phases of formlessness? Reen was both thankful and mortified to be included in the conversation so swiftly. Well, that's the difficult question, isn't it? If it has a name, doesn't that mean that it has form? The scion flared her gills in annoyance and decided to switch tables. Reen continued to her audience of now just the student and Vesa. There was a movement called postmodernism. I've never been a huge fan, but a few people I know call it the only honest literature. The young student was intrigued. Oh, that's the wrong voice. No, not that one. And what is the style of the humans' postmodern movement? Oh, well, I'm not a literature expert, but there was no one way to write. It sounds similar to what Vassar was describing, Reen said. The student now looked fully intrigued. Again, I am not hugely familiar, but one type of poetry is a stream of consciousness. You simply write exactly what is coming from your mind as you go. No real structure, end goal, or point. Just exactly what comes to mind. Vesa and the student looked horrified. Vesa blinked her eyes a few times, clearly lost in the grounding meditation. The student kept their eyes on the dinner bowl for a long moment. It was Vesa who finally returned to the moment and asked, So, just write exactly what comes to mind, as it comes to mind. That sounds horrifying. Well, perhaps I'm speaking the Imperium standard sloppily, but the style really only reads like a poorly edited monologue. Reen tried to reassure the table. Vesa was still visibly uncomfortable, but asked, I've been meaning to ask, do humans have imperfect memories? The students stared down at their food, clearly upset by the thread that Vesa was pulling. Reen absent-mindedly looked to nearby tables, hoping for a new guest to rotate in. She had no choice but to answer the question, unaware of the faux pas she was making. Memory is a skill and is highly variable amongst human. Memory is a skill and is highly variable among humans. It also takes up multiple forms. The new info did seem to garner the student's interest. But if you mean precise memory, some humans have what's called photographic memory. So, what do you see when you remember things? The student asked. Well, I don't really see anything. I can somewhat picture something in my mind, but for me, it doesn't always come with clarity. Vesa and the student nodded. The table left much less tense. The table felt much less tense, and Reen didn't know why. The student began to lead the conversation, asking Vesa about her history in politics and how she'd come so far from Nest. Another yonk joined their table, and the topic shifted to Shazin's spacecraft. Excuse me. Reen stayed at the table until her oatmeal was nearly gone, and then stood to hand it to a hyphen waiter. She saw her opportunity to finally join the host's table and took it. Barrett was emptying what looked like his second bowl of pasta, while Luck discussed the Duro border crisis to a crowd of bored-looking young diplomats. It is the inconsistency of it all that maddens me. One day I'll have a formal trade agreement from a clan, and the next day I get a call the same clan has raided a caravan.
That's what you get for trading with brutes, Barrett replied, with fish meat still in his mouth. What do you expect, Luck? They are barbarians with warp drives.
The blatant racism definitely shocked Luck, and she did a meager job of hiding the fact in her passive face. I'd take an honest brute over a lying sophisticate. Barrett ignored her comment and charged forward with a rant that had clearly been brewing.
The problem with the Duro is a culture, like hierarchy and discipline.
He took a triumphant slurp of his stray noodle for dramatic effect.
When no one challenged him, he continued with confidence.
Each clan acts as its own, unconcerned with the needs of the whole. Their leaders pursue the fleeting desires. Their leaders pursue the fleeting desires of the day with little control or oversight over the rabble. When a clan leader can be deposed by a simple challenge, what level of stability do you think that provides? No, look, the only way to communicate with the Diro is with threats.
Luck did not see an easy way out of the situation, and so gave a non-committal huff. The other youngs at the table nodded their heads in subservient agreement with their host. Reen wore disbelief across her face. The host and table quickly noticed that Reen was the only one not to voice a response to Barrett's condemnation of the Diro. A row of bulbous eyes and Luck's beady set of 4 eyes came to rest on her. That familiar feeling of otherness rose in her stomach. She had to say something, anything.
I'm not so sure.
Her rebuttal garnered her a moment of shock and a narrow window to formulate an inoffensive political position. Barrett's comments were a red-hot poker to her temper. She knew escaped members of the Jiroro slave caste, and their first complaints were not lack of hierarchy and discipline. With few options, she had to lie and find a middle ground between herself and a racist.
The Jiroro are a confederation, are they not? I think that shows that their fear of tyranny more than their lack of discipline. Each clan wants an independence from each other. Well, that may not be hierarchical. I don't think that it shows lack of discipline.
Reen had partially convinced the young diplomats. Barrett was annoyed to have been contradicted at his own event, at his own table.
I know members of their caste system, and their commitment to discipline nearly matches the Imperium's.
She could see Barrett cool down ever so slightly.
Well, then perhaps not discipline, but consistency,
Barrett said. The major thrust in his argument was intact, as was his pride. The conversation was stilled for a moment, and Luck saw an opportunity to take the steering wheel again. She'd been at the host table for a little too long, and had maybe one more opportunity to ingratiate herself with Barrett. A Vates waiter walked near the table and saw the number of empty or emptying bowls. He made quick eye contact with Barrett, Reen, and the other youngs at the table to confirm their readiness for more food. Luck's plate was barely touched. Reen slowly slipped the tiny disc of poison from her dress pocket and split her mind into 2 focuses. One was playing the part of an impartial and polite dinner guest, happy to be at the host's table. The other was watching the door to the kitchen and discreetly unwrapping the poison. She kept her hands below the table and slowly peeled away one side of the plastic baggie. Surface tension kept the other half in the plastic stuck to her now sweaty left palm. The Vates waiter appeared not long after his disappearance, with 4 bowls balanced between his 6 arms. His rodent-like face expressed a worry born both of the balance and the heat of each bowl. He came to the young to Reen's right first, and happily exchanged a steaming bowl of soup for a cold, empty one. As he twisted to deliver Reen's meal, she moved her foot slightly to trip one of his spindly legs. He fell and shot out one of his arms to steady himself on the table. In doing so, he nearly dropped the full bowls of food he still carried. Reen took the opportunity to grab hold of the 2 arms and helped him stand again. In that instant, she helped him rise. She slipped her palm over the 1 bowl of pasta that he carried. And let the poison drop. The swish of her dress and the minor chaos of the fall helped to obscure her delivery. The Vates thanked her and delivered her another bowl of spiced oatmeal. He offered a meager apologies.
Sorry, sire. Sorry, sires, I was too ambitious to deliver them all at once.
Barrett did not offer a response. His baubles dangled from his face as he smacked his mouth in anticipation of another bowl of pasta. Reen saw the tiniest tip of the poisoned disc bobbing in the bowl. She hoped the pale blue would be lost in the rainbow of exotic ingredients present in the dish. Reen had to wrestle her attention away from the other's food and forcefully concentrate on eating casually. Luck thankfully provided an unintentional distraction as she talked Barrett's ear holes off. It was clear that she had pushed her luck this evening and was skirting ever closer to annoying the host. Luck picked up her tray of grains and fruit when it became obvious that Barrett was more interested in eating than talking. Luck decided to surrender and pushed a chair back from the table, signaling she was finally going to rotate elsewhere. She tried her luck one last time, however, and moved her hand into Barrett's personal space, offering up her contact card.
Well, if you ever need to discuss getting things past the border, I know a lot of caravan houses, she said.
Barrett eyed the card with derision, but ultimately took it from her. He flipped it over in his hand, and a few times... Barrett eyed the card with derision, but ultimately took it from her. He flipped it over in his hand a few times, and then used the edge to wipe a bit of food from the side of his mouth. He smiled, and his gills fluttered in boasting.
Certainly, Luck. I'll always keep you in mind.
One of the other yonks at the table chuckled, and Luck took the indignity in stride. With that, she was gone to some other table, nursing her pride. Reen remained at the table, committed to watching the coming fiasco. It came maybe a minute after Luck made her ignominious exit, and right as the yonk student sat down. At first, it looked like Barrett was choking, but a yonk's breathing and eating tubes are separate. He pounded his chest with his fist and tried to cough out through his gills. He started to stand, but his arms felt weak. He shook a little in his chair, while his eyes bulged in his head. His scion markings felt hot. They felt, oh, so hot, hotter than being in the chair almost 2 centuries ago. He could feel the needle poking at his skin, while the proctor and the machine barked questions at him. Memories broke into a conscious mind, and he didn't have the strength to stop them. His mouth felt dry as the sensation of the past overloaded his brain, and he started to hallucinate. How long had he been in the chair? Had it been 2 minutes or an hour? What was his score? What would he like? What was his score? What would he look like when the test was finally done? The machine drew a long line across his abdomen. It burned like a molten metal in his skin. He'd never told anyone, but he was worried that he'd be ugly once the test was over. What was the last question? Something about time distortion and an L3 point between 3 moving black holes. Could he ask for repeats? He couldn't remember. Oh no, he hadn't been breathing. Was the test over? He was on the bridge of the Dutiful. Some marshal was reading off casualty reports while the Scion War Council looked over 100 reports a second. His head felt woozy, and he skimmed through satellite images. Someone was saying his name, but he couldn't quite hear them. His arms felt weak. How high up were they? Was this orbit safe? Did humans even have any orbital defense missiles left? How much longer was the madness going to last? It needed to end. He was so tired. Why was he so tired? He was back in the college reception hall, and there was no oxygen making it to his brain. Barrett thrashed at the table as his gills turned a dark red. He tried over and over to cough. The yonk next to him was trying desperately to smack him on the back and make him cough. But Barrett was moving around too much, trying to grab something like an idiot child. He started clawing at his gills, trying to get the air in them and the clotting blood out. He needed to clear his airway. He needed someone to strike him just in the middle of his back, where the minor lungs connected to the pulmonary branch of his gills.
Why wasn't anyone helping him? Why? Why wasn't anyone helping him? Was he having an allergic reaction? It wasn't the air. Nothing was that quick, and some other yonk would have been affected as well. Was it something in the food? Nah, it couldn't be. It couldn't be. Half of the yonks had ordered the same dish. Luck's business card. He wiped it right on his mouth. Foolish! Terrible discipline next to a foreign agent. Barrett was standing back from the table while a fellow yonk nearly punched him in the back. It didn't solve the problem. Blood was starting to drip from Barrett's overinflated gills. They'd already sustained enough damage that he'd need a transparent. They already sustained enough damage that he'd need a transplant anyway. His eyes darted around the room frantically until he found Luck. He jumped at his table and clawed at the business card. His arms were starting to grow rigid. Each movement looked pained and false. He had to steady himself on the table with both his arms as strength left. He had to steady himself on the table with both of his arms as strength left his legs. His species double-jointed arms didn't ever truly lock in place, so he quickly fell. His face impacted the bowl of pasta with force enough to knock over the table. In the chaos, he had managed to get a grip on the card. A mess of food and blood splayed out around his now convulsing body. He clawed around to orient himself facing Luck. With their eyes locked, he took a business card and smacked it over and over on his now shattered dinner bowl. The crowd stood back, so shocked at the hectic display that no one moved for a moment. A host of servants from the kitchen had appeared and were trying to administer first aid. Their efforts were in vain. Barrett had stopped moving. His last actions were clear to the guests assembled. He had condemned Luck. The table of yonks had seen her hand over her business card shortly before leaving the table. They had seen him wipe it on his mouth. Her embarrassment and her foreign status were all they needed to condemn her. No one said anything, but they all stared at her. Vessa moved up next to Reen, as did Luck's assistant. They knew that they had to condemn her immediately if they were going to make it out of the college. Luck took the stares of the crowd like a criminal on the way to the gallows. She took out her data slate and called the Runtang consulate for the ring. Hello, yes, this is Luck. I'm requesting diplomatic privilege.
The crowd began to stand in a wall between the exit and Luck.
You can check the record of my blood. I've earned the right.
She continued over the call. The yonks began to look toward the Chiron Fleet Marshal as the authority figure in the room. At first, he was confused, then moved into the role of a military commander. Madam Luck, if you would, I am placing you under arrest for the murder of Scion Barrett, his vocalizer announced in a commanding Imperium standard. It took a second for our ambassador translator to deliver Chiron's command. Luck stood rigid as a soldier and ended the call. Luck stood rigid. The dog. Okay, dog's finished. It took a second for her ambassador's translator to deliver the Chiron's command. Luck stood rigid as a soldier. And ended her call. Reen had to summon a Herculean strength to suppress her grin. But to her benefit, no one in the room was looking at her. She gifted herself the enjoyment of beholding the now-deceased Scion Barrett, the former head war scion for the war of human... The former head war scion for the war of human pacification lay in a puddle of pasta and his own blood. The last scion calculation he ever made was wrong. End of story. Alrighty. And we're back. And I actually need to record all of this. We can stop recording. If you're wondering why I do this a little bit at the end, we get a noise profile of the ambient room noise so that we can subtract it from what we've recorded. Good morning, Talk. I hope you're doing well. Cool. And then we do that. We amplify everything. We do a hard noise removal because this takes the last little bits of noise, like breathing and stuff. Oh, I've been doing well, Talk. Thank you for asking. This normalizes everything, so everything will have the same volume. And then we decrease the overall volume so that it's not too loud. Right. Just looking at the spreadsheet. That's going to be pretty much everything for today. Don't think my voice, well, more specifically, my concentration is up to another story. Close. I've done one really long story. So that would probably end up being about a half an hour video. But it is the second part to last night's story. All right. No. Yesterday's one was definitely not a serious one. The Torsion Mage. Definitely not a serious one. And I think both of you, the other ones. Yeah, so yesterday's one was about the wizard that did ungentlemanly things to a rampaging dragon. I don't think that falls in the serious spectrum. It hasn't been released yet. Should be tomorrow. I changed the order. It would have been tonight, but... Woohoo! Anja the Cat, thank you for the 33 bits. It is very much appreciated. Still sounds like a gambling machine to me, but hey, it's a gamble I win, so I'm happy with that. Thank you. Fork 07, or Frack, Feck 07. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. What do you mean by long-form content, Captain No Name? Technically, my normal videos are long-form content. But if you're talking about really long, there's the compilation channel. 10-hour-long videos of stuff. And then also with series, when it gets to about 10 hours worth of chapters in a series, I plunk them together in a compilation, shove them over to that channel. The problem is recording extra content for that is probably not going to work. So I'm always working, or try to work at 100%. Some weeks that's more, some weeks that's less. But I don't really have extra capacity, vocally wise, to record like a 10-hour video as well. Ah, fair enough. So I have 3 channels. This is the main channel. The second channel is the compilation channel. So that has all the like stupidly long 10-hour, because I can only upload 10 hours, so I've got multiple 10-hour long videos on there. And then I've got the series channel. So the compilation channel is just compilations from this channel and the series channel. And then obviously this is one-shots, and then series is series. All of them should be listed somewhere. It is called ASN Random Stuff. Right. And is that done? Yeah, it used to be 12 hours, but they decreased it to 10. No, actually, it used to be no limit. I think 24 hours was the limit. And I had some 16-hour jobbies at one point. But now it's basically 10 hours. Alrighty. All of that has been sent to the editor, aka wifey, Mrs. Agro Squirrel. What am I doing? Nothing. Nothing? Nothing. Oh, we need to do a thumbnail. Thumbnail is going to be easy. So let's head to work mode. Thumbnail design. Oh, cool. I don't know. Who knows what YouTube's going to do? I mean, I understand that you need to limit it at some point. But, I mean, you have to pick an arbitrary number. I mean, the only way to get a video that's longer than that is to stream, because then you can get infinite. 12 hours, I think. Fair enough. I mean, 8 hours is like a work day. So, something makes sense. Alrighty. So this was last night's thumbnail. moving stuff around. So this is last night. So we're going to keep the same theme. And go finally dead. Not finally dead. It doesn't work. What are we going to call this? My revenge complete. Revenge completed. Earth avenged. I think that one works better. There we go. We're called Earth, but we make Earth blue. So, you want to know how complicated thumbnails can be. Thumbnails could be complicated enough to do an actual thesis on, and I think people have. So color theory plays into a role. So certain colors represent certain emotions. You're also working on the way the eye is drawn to it, rather than it's not. How easy is it to read and process when it's in a small? That sort of thing. And I ignore most of that stuff. Mr. Beast, he's thumbnails. No more than 3 words. Sometimes just a number. And then he puts the saturation up so that when it's small, you can still see what's happening. Even though it's distorted. It makes it look weird. But each color has its own emotion set to it. Like green is curiosity and red is homeliness. Personally, I like to put humans and Earth in the blue color because of the blue marble, that is Earth. Sort of create that association. Well, I mean, you got to make sure that it's legible on a smartphone. And this is where I normally mess up, because I don't watch YouTube on my phone. I don't really do much on my phone. So I forget that people do. That's why I do this, just to make sure that you can kind of see what's happening in a small thing. It's legible enough that it should work on a phone, even though I think the phone would probably be about that size. So we can see what's happening. We can read what's happening. And if we can read it, that means you can pose a question. The most, not profitable, the most successful thumbnails ask a question, whether that's in the composition or in the words. So you click on it to get the answer, because of curiosity and impatience. That's why you see Mr. Beast and a lot of his clones, they do actions. So they have active thumbnails. So somebody is doing something, and they make that ridiculous, whatever that something is. Picking up something that can't be picked up, or pushing something that cannot be pushed. And that just plants the question in your head is, how is that possible? This is not right. And that bit of curiosity gives you your click-through rate. That's how you get people. That's clickbait. That's the true clickbait. Like I said, I ignore most of that stuff. I did save this. I did. As long as it's legible, and just by looking at it, you can see that it's my thumbnail, which, you know, it's got my face on it. I want people to be able to recognize it. That's why, also, why Mr. Beast has like 2 different expressions on all of his thumbnails, is familiarity. It doesn't matter how many pictures you take, as long as people recognize you, that's brand recognition. Or something like that. I just want to read stories and make a living. Red Vex has been and gone. He has gone back to sleep. Okay, so that was tonight's thumbnail. Pichewy. We can close the teleprompter, we can close the writer. No, we don't need that. We can reconfigure into chat mode. There we go, everybody right. I'll close my Discord. Close that. Yeah, so looking at the next week, we've got quite a few long stories coming up, 20 minutes plus. So it's going to be interesting to try and do 2 of those every day. And that's my goal for next week, is to do 9,000 words of narration every day. And then we'll see how the voice holds up over the week. If it holds up well enough, then the next week we'll try 11 or 12,000. 15,000 was my previous normal. That's weird. Okay, so it looks like Restream.io doesn't show the message you attach to bits, which is just another reason to keep Twitch open. Ah. Yeah. All right. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours have gone past. Doesn't feel like 3 hours. My voice says it's 3 hours, but it doesn't feel like 3 hours to me. All right. I was going to play a game, but if there was enough time. I don't think there's enough time. Well, I don't think there's enough capacity in my voice to go for 3.5 hours. Right. What do we want to know? Chit-chat, chin-wag, lollygag, all that stuff. Spill the tea. Have a good old moan. What do we want to talk about? I am actually honestly surprised. And I get more viewers on Twitter than I do on Twitch. Okay. I can never really get into the Witcher series. I tried. Didn't like it. But then everybody knows my thoughts on story-rich games. I just want to play games. I don't want to... How do I see my stream? My profile. Okay. I'm gonna mute this website. Nope, it is muted. That was yesterday. Where do I see streams on Twitter? Zeta. That's yesterday. Project Zomboid. Always a good choice. I've spent way too many hours playing that. Yeah, still have no idea how to look at my stream on Twitter. Maybe it just doesn't show me my own stream? Who knows? Not gonna figure that out now. I think I'm gonna actually call it for a day. Thank you all for joining me for this narration and live stream. It is very much appreciated that you spent your time with me. Fair enough. Lots of things are better than a finger. And you can take that however you want. Yeah, thank you for choosing to spend your time with me. It is very much appreciated. Hopefully, I provided some entertainment and some insight to my process. I hope to see you all tomorrow. And can't think of anything else. Other than, I hate all the trees and plants in my area that are trying to kill me. They're being evil and trying to kill me. Alright, bye.